To discuss Lebanon's financial crisis, with us in Beirut is Dr. Nasri, Harb University lecturer and economist at Izal University. Thank you very much for being with us, Dr. Harb. Now, indications of recession in Lebanon, together with restricted access to bank deposits and goods shortages, definitely magnify the risk of further social unrest in the country. Would defaulting on debt be an option that Lebanon can actually afford at this point in time?
Hi, good day. Indeed, defaulting is always an option, and even in some countries it was the best option. It was the best decision to take because its consequences might be the least. I'm not calling here for a default, but I'm saying in some cases it was the best decision. Lebanon, if it defaults, it won't be the first country to do so, and it won't be the last one to do so as well. Many countries have gone when defaulting previously, Spain, Brazil, Argentina recently, and Greece as well. Well, the case is serious, and whenever we say a country is defaulting or the government is defaulting on its debt, well, the closest thing to imagine that someone telling you, I'm not going to pay you back your money. Normally, in this case, you will take him to court or take her to court. But in the case of countries or government, this option is not available because we don't have like such international court. Consequences are heavy and are severe. Well, let's say you don't trust the banking sector. People are not willing to send or to deal with the banks. People will reduce their remittance. Lebanon is basically in such big need of remittance. Foreigners will never send their money, and there will be further dry out of the foreign currency in the country. So we'll be lacking these currencies, and because we have high demand, especially in Lebanon, we are importing around $18 billion compared to $2 billion of export. So there is a huge gap, shortage of US dollars in the country. This shortage of US dollar used to be filled by the remittance and the transfer from abroad. Now in that case, and like in the current case, the banking default will reduce even this matter, will reduce the transfer and remittances to Lebanon. What would that mean? We'll be having a higher shortage of US dollar. The actual value of the US dollar will increase in Lebanon. Currently now in the market it's around $2,000, 2,000 lira per US dollar. This rate will increase further, and as we have started to see, the prices will go up, therefore inflation is rising and increasing. This will bring also higher interest rate. The higher interest rate is also emphasized with the rating agency classification of the Lebanese financial status, which will also bring the interest rate higher. So higher interest rate, inflation, the uprising in Lebanon, and the social unrest, this all will bring lower growth. We are expecting actually now negative growth in Lebanon. So this negative growth will even worsen the case. Add to that, another point is, which will bring more social unrest between the people themselves, between the Lebanese population, as if the country goes default, who will bear the consequences? I mean, will all the depositors lose their money? The rich one, will that be proportional? That's another question, and this will create also another source of unrest.
Well, Dr. Harb, discontent with the economic mismanagement and the corruption in Lebanon exploded into what we have seen as a nationwide protest in Lebanon since October 17th. Now, demonstrators continue to take to the streets to demand an overhaul of the country's political system, to set it onto the road for a financial recovery if possible. But no one is actually telling us where this road leads to. What options does Lebanon have at this point to recover from this crisis?
Well, first thing in this case, in the case of Lebanon, that we notice here in Lebanon is the willingness. We don't have willingness to solve the issue. Nobody is taking care. Nobody is saying that we have to do something. We have to take an action. There are many options. We're not the first country that have economic problem. There are many options to solve the issue. Lebanon is a rich country. We have many resources, but we have to make best use of these resources. The best approach, I can classify them into two sides. First, political side, and then economic side. On the political side, I can mention 3 points. First of all, as I mentioned, willingness to change. So a politician, the political system, or the political guys in the parliament and in the cabinet should think, well, they have to think seriously about changing the system. We need to change something. Like, we cannot continue on the same way. Also on the political side, we have to have a clear vision where we should be heading to. What type of country we want? Commerce, industrial, what type of country, what sector should be enhanced, what sector should be helped. And another point which I consider the basic of growth, the basic of everything else, is the enhancement of the rule of law. Rule of law, applying the rule of law, enhancing it, will reduce the corruption. And this will help to boost or to bring more confidence into the country and into the economy. That's on the political side. On the economic side, what we are having here, when we speak economic side, economically we don't look at the debt itself, we look at debt over GDP. So in Lebanon, the debt over GDP is kind of the highest in the world. We are almost, well, in some statistics, we are speaking about 150%, 180%, 200%. But if we take the whole Lebanese debt, I mean, you are taking the debt of the government, the debt of the central bank, which we have discovered recently. And when Fitch recently said the central bank has a debt of $33 billion US. Wow. Okay. So we have 85 the direct debt of the government, and 33 the central bank, and you have other like social security fund also have some debt. So all of these together, up to some economists, it's the total debt is about $130 billion US. Compared to the GDP, which is about 255. So we have more than 200%. So that's among the highest in the world. I think Japan is the highest, is more than us, but Japan has a good structured economy which can bring confidence. There is no doubt and no problem. In our case, no, everything is collapsing.
Well, since we just have a minute and a half left, I want to ask one last question about the banks, Dr. Harb. Our banks have effectively imposed capital controls limiting the amount of US dollars customers can withdraw or transfer, and also recently Lebanese lira withdrawal from ATMs, they have put also a limit on that as well, limits per day. Are banks now counting their days remaining open? Will they shut down soon?
Well, there were some rumors that banks are troubled, and most recently we have some credit rating agency that reduced the rating of the Lebanese banks. That is always possible, but I don't think that will happen, because if it will happen, that will have a contagious effect. It has a sort of domino effect. As you understand, political factors play an important role in the Lebanese current crisis. So the defaulting like if any bank will default or will stop paying its client, that will give a strong sign that the political factor is pushing the local economy and the local country into further recession.
Well, I want to thank you very much. I had more questions to ask. I'm sure we'll have you on again with us soon to explain for us further the financial crisis in Lebanon. I want to thank you very much, Dr. Nasri Harb, economist at UZAL University, for being with us. Thank you for watching the Mideast Stream, and please stay tuned next week for more from the Mideast Stream.
Thank you. Good luck.